I've listened to A Night at the Opera by Queen for years.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James. With me, as always, for the last 175 episodes, is Connor.
Man, it feels like we're back from Mixtober.
Back in Mixtober? Why? Because of Queen?
Yeah. Well, there's a phantom running around.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we're spending the night at the opera, and I hear there's a phantom on the loose.
Oh, a phantom at the opera. Boy, that was a really nuanced joke.
Well, if I did anything obvious, you would have caught it.
Right, you're supposed to get a joke. That's the point of a joke.
No, you're not supposed to see it coming. I'm trying to recapture the high from 2 episodes ago when I got you with the Hello Darkness, my old friend one.
Oh, with Simon and Garfunkel?
Yeah.
Good luck. First of all, for this episode, though, this is 175. This is another...
Hey, audience, strap in.
That's right. This is episode 175.
Strap in. It's been a while since we've had to strap into the chair.
It's a milestone kind of episode. You know, one of these quarter of 100 episodes. And I wanted to do a cool album. I wanted to do a cool band. A high priority one that, you want to spread out a little bit. And it's going to just be a long episode.
Not going to B-side it?
No. I think we should just let the people have it. Hey.
I'm all for it.
Me too. We're talking about Queen. Now, there's a very high possibility that we could revisit Queen in the future because Queen's made a lot of really cool albums. And I know this is a band I think we both have a good shot at scoring high.
You don't know me.
Well, that's not true.
You're right. You're my best friend.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're in good company.
Dang. You could have said it back.
Well, that's what I mean. I reciprocate that. You're in good company like I feel the same.
That's not what you said.
That's what I meant.
I can be in good company with people who aren't my best friend.
Okay. Well, you're my best friend. Just like Freddie Mercury said.
Oh! Hey. I was going to say I was in love with my car, but it just sounded weird.
It does sound weird, doesn't it? It's a weird song title. We'll get into it.
It is.
Well, we're talking about A Night at the Opera. I went ahead and ripped off the Band-Aid and decided to pick A Night at the Opera.
Which is interesting, because normally you like to avoid the one. We both like to avoid albums that have a standout song that's going to overshadow everything else on the album.
All of Queen's albums have that. They're kind of like an Elton John style band where all of their hits are spread out album to album, and every record's going to have a song or two, mostly, that is just a juggernaut.
I just feel like you've decided to go with the biggest one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, though, because, if you start digging around other places, you get into We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions.
I don't think either of those are bigger than...
You get into Bicycle Race.
Definitely not Bicycle Race.
No, I know. But you don't think We Will Rock You is
bigger than...
Bohemian Rhapsody? Somebody to Love?
I don't know.
Go to any sporting event and find me someone who doesn't know Stomp Stomp Clap more than they know Scaramouche Scaramouche, can you do the fandango?
I don't know. Bohemian Rhapsody led to like a Guinness World Record of some sort. I don't know if any of their other songs did that.
I don't know either, but we'll find out. I've got a lot of information about Queen coming your way. So yeah, Connor's right. Strap in, everybody. Queen facts coming your way.
Get out the straps, dust them off.
That's right.
Get them out of the closet, oil up the clasps, and strap in.
Right. Well, when you're talking about Queen, we're talking about one of the most iconic rock bands of all time, right? Like, they've got such a signature style and sound. Nobody sounds like Queen.
Never heard of them.
You've never heard of Queen? Don't you lie to me. I know you know Queen. I know you held back on your top 3 picks from the last episode or 2 because you knew Queen was coming.
You caught me.
Well, I didn't really catch you so much as you confessed to it in the moment, but I'll take credit. I caught you. Queen, of course, comes from the land of one of the most famous monarchies in the world.
The land of the horrible ones.
That's right. Great Britain. Queen is from England. London, to be specific. Back in 1964, guitarist Brian May built his own guitar. Built from scratch. And he got together with his friend, singer Tim Staffel, and he started a band called 1984. 20 years ahead of its time. But actually it was named after George Orwell's dystopian novel, right? Big Brother's watching you and stuff. But instead of pursuing music full-time, Brian May decides to go to school and get a degree in physics and infrared astronomy, which we'll talk about for sure down the road. That came in handy later in life. But Brian May, guitar player, astronomer extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire.
But just because he went to school doesn't mean he was done making music. He and Staffel picked up keyboardist Chris Smith, and they put out an ad for a drummer. An ad that was answered by an aspiring dentist by the name of Roger Taylor.
Hey, I believe it. If you had to say pick like a medical profession that would be good at drumming, I think I would have gone dentist.
Really? Why is that? Just because they like work with instruments in their hands? Yeah.
They're good with like little hand tools, and your teeth are kind of like a xylophone, which is a percussion instrument.
I don't know if that's a really accurate comparison.
Just little rows of little like rectangles that they get in there and they bang and chisel and
Chisel?
jackhammer.
I think you played xylophones the wrong way.
I mean, dentists do that. I would never do that to a xylophone, to the teeth.
Yeah, right.
Gotta get that cavity out, get the jackhammer. It's a really big one.
Yeah, and I wonder if the fact that Roger Taylor was a dentist had anything to do with the fact that they named their first band Smile. That was their name.
Well, so they say. That was the band's final and most crucial command.
Smile? You think it was an order telling people to smile?
To reject what was right in front of them, what their eyes could see. They were still 1984.
What are you talking about?
I'm making a 1984 reference.
Oh, to reject, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, your doublespeak got me all out of whack. Smile. Love it. 9 out of 10 dentists recommend Smile. But especially Roger Taylor.
And the one dentist that doesn't is Roger Taylor.
He's the drummer. Yeah. Well, they got some pretty high-profile gigs, actually. They even played the Royal Albert Hall back in that day. In the meantime, Tim Staffel decides that he is in the company of greatness amongst these astrophysicists and dentists. And he says, you know what? I'm going to go to art school.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so he heads off to art school. He meets a really cool classmate from Zanzibar who's of Indian Parsi descent by the name of Farokh Bulsara.
Pretty cool name.
It's a cool name, but mostly this guy went by the name of Freddie.
Kruger?
No, not Kruger.
No.
Mixtaper is over. But Freddie is studying fashion and he's studying graphic design. But it turns out he was also a passionate singer. And when he heard about Smile, he said, hey, what if I joined your band? What if I sang vocals for your band? Naturally, as a current lead vocalist himself, Staffel said, I don't know about that. I don't know if we really need another lead singer.
That's kind of my job.
Kind of my thing, Freddie. Like, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
You make a neat graphic, but...
You gotta have perfect teeth. Oh, wait, no, that's not him.
That's definitely not Freddie. So after that harsh rejection, which probably wasn't too harsh and was just a rejection, it was probably pretty chill.
It was probably pretty harsh.
No, and they were still friends because Freddie goes back to selling clothes and scarves with Roger Taylor in a little stall at Kensington Market. But actually, and ironically, Staffel has his sights set on bigger and better things. So in 1970, he says, I'm headed for the big time.
Time to frown.
Time to frown. Yeah, he leaves the band Smile, and he starts a more R&B-centric band called Humpy Bong. Right? Humpy Bong? Yeah.
Humpy Bong?
Yeah, with the Bee Gees' Colin Peterson.
Oh.
I think Humpy Bong is another one for our Hall of Name.
Yeah.
Down there with Gossamer Wump with the knobs and Pud. Like,
dude, nothing beats Pud.
Puds are pretty great. I mean, Pud, what a name, but Humpy Bong, man.
Humpy Bong.
But imagine leaving the band that would become Queen because you wanted to be successful and then ending up in Humpy Bong and just regretting everything.
Yeah. But hey, it sounds like they need a lead singer.
They do. Yeah, there's a job opening, and Smile was very happy to have Freddie fill the vacancy. They added Mike Gross to the lineup as a bassist, and they played their first gig together on June 27th, 1970. Freddie, as it turns out, was also the one who suggested the name change to Queen. The band was apprehensive, but he was insistent, and he said that it's wonderful, dear. People will love it. And we do.
And we do.
That's right. He also decided to try a stage name on for size for himself because Farokh Bulsara maybe wouldn't resonate with audiences as much. So he became Freddie Mercury, which is a name that he took from a song he had written called My Fairy King. One of the lines in the song says, Mother Mercury, look what they've done to me.
Oh, and if it's Mother Mercury, then he would be Sun Mercury.
Sun Mercury?
And, well, he'd be the Sun Mercury.
That's the order of the first two things in the solar system.
Hey.
So,
he already had the nickname Freddie.
He did.
He'd already decided Farokh was not going to cut it in college. At art school, whatever.
I mean, art school is college for art.
Not necessarily. Could have been like a trade school. Anyway, I distracted us enough. Where were we at?
Right, fair enough. Well, where we were is they just renamed to Queen, Freddie just became Mercury, and the band started playing popular rock covers around town. And actually, they even had a solid collection of early original songs. They caught the ear of producer John Anthony, who was mostly very excited about the band, except he did not like the bassist.
Oh, no. So he's like, ew, you're gross.
You're gross. Yeah, Gross. Gross was only the bassist for 3 shows. And then they replaced the bass players for quite a while, put a few of them through the ringer. And finally, they found John Deacon in February of 1971. And boy, was he ever a match. So that solidified the 4-piece Queen lineup that we all know and love. May, Mercury, Taylor, Deacon. That's Queen. They got to do their first official recordings for free, actually.
Oh, I like free. Free is great.
Free. That spells free. Free is awesome. And they landed that because they got connected with a brand new recording studio. It was like newly built.
Dude, imagine being a brand new recording studio and being like, well, we got to get the word out, so let's give some people some free gigs, like some free recording demos or whatever, and then landing Queen.
And then Queen walks in. Well, it's even more than just trying to get the word out. Actually, they were like testing the space, right? They needed to sound treat the space and get all their equipment set up. So Queen comes in and makes their first demos there. It would be remarkable to look back on that and be like, dude, Queen was in here first. Freddie Mercury was the first person to do vocals in this booth. Like,
we guinea pigged our entire business using Queen.
Yeah. And they knocked out 5 tracks during that first session. Liar, Great King Rat, The Night Comes Down, Jesus, and Keep Yourself Alive. By January of 1972, they finished what would become their debut album, despite not even having a record deal secured yet, and they'd played for tens of fans all around London. Yes, tens. One of their early gigs only had 6 attendees, which reminds me of ZZ Top.
ZZ Top.
In the audience of 1 that they played for that one time. I mean, Queen wasn't doing much better when they were starting out.
So you're saying if we ever wanted to do a live episode somewhere?
I mean, we'd need 2 people to be better than ZZ Top and 7 to be better than early Queen.
I think that's doable.
I think that's feasible. Yeah. I think we've already beaten some of those numbers with live streams, really. So,
yeah.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. You can't compare apples to apples that way.
Well, apples to apples is the right way to compare things.
Right, that's what I say, but you can't do it that way. You want to compare apples to apples. You can't do it by comparing live performance to live streams.
Okay. Sure. Well, Queen's getting some traction a little bit, slowly. They did actually shortly sign with EMI, though, and they put out their self-titled debut to mild critical praise. Rolling Stone called it superb, and it actually managed to be certified gold, both in the UK and in the US. For their follow-up record, they continued down the Led Zeppelin-style path of self-titled albums, and they started to work on Queen 2 in 1973. But since they were signed this time around, they didn't have to bum any more free studio time, so the process was a lot smoother, they had a little more breathing room, and the album ended up being a lot more intricate as a result. They started to hone in on their signature sound with long layered instrumentals and like fantasy style lyrics. The big hit from Queen 2 was the 7 Seas of Rye. Do you know the 7 Seas of Rye?
The 7 Seeds?
Seas. S-E-A-S. 7 Seas of Rye.
Of course, who doesn't?
Some people don't. I don't know. I was just checking. I guess we didn't get into how familiar with Queen you are, but I'm sure it's a lot. We could do that later. But Queen 2, they quickly saw their audiences increase from 7 to 7,000, right? Monumental growth.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a little tougher to beat.
Yeah, that's true. If everyone who watches the Hank Williams episode showed up to a recording, we could be in good shape. Queen 2 hit number 5 on the British album chart, which makes it their first charting record. And they rode that wave of success into their third record, Sheer Heart Attack. That's another one that I've scored and ranked. And it got a little more experimental with songs like their first US hit, Killer Queen. They had other hits like Now I'm Here, In the Lap of the Gods, etc., etc. Critics called Sheer Heart Attack a feast. North American critics called it a no-holds-barred, full-scale attack on the senses. British critics, on the other hand, said it had no duffers. I don't know what that means, but I think it's positive. In time, Sheer Heart Attack would be recognized as one of the 100 records that changed the world by Mojo, and one of the best British rock albums of all time. It also sent Queen on an international headlining tour in the United States and Japan for the first time, and during all this time, they're still trapped in an entry-level contract with Trident Records. They're becoming a worldwide band like rock stars with top hits, world-changing albums, and they're still like struggling day to day with their finances to pay bills and stuff. So they managed to negotiate out of that contract, and they signed a new manager in John Reid, who also managed Elton John. He took over all the business side of things, and he gave Queen free reign to, as he said, make the best record you can. So they did. And that record would be A Night at the Opera, the one we're talking about tonight. Queen's 4th record overall. And boy, did they ever put their best foot forward. The record turned out to be the most expensive album ever made at the time. It cost £40,000, or 53,000 American dollars back then, which is almost $310,000. For perspective, $350,000 in 2024. That's a ton of money. One of the reasons it was so expensive is that they worked at 7 studios around England, and they got very experimental with multi-track recording technology. They really wanted to bring out the layered part of their layered sound, vocals included. Previously, they just used 16-track tapes, but on A Night at the Opera, they decided to up it to 24. They also brought in all kinds of unique instruments, like ukuleles and harps and double basses and jangle pianos and timpanis and gongs and Wurlitzers, a toy Japanese koto, like tons of stuff. It's a big budget record. And with those experimental techniques come more experimental songs, right? A Night at the Opera has everything from vaudeville jaunts and theatrical epics to heartfelt piano ballads, like whatever you want to classify Bohemian Rhapsody as is here. Like, we'll get into the weeds with all the tracks, but it spans like such an array of stuff.
It's all over the place.
It's mind-boggling. And that's another reason I really wanted to bring it for the podcast, is it's like weirdly incongruous, but still like a very cohesive body of work. And I think that's like what's cool about calling it A Night at the Opera, is it's just sensory overload from all angles.
Yeah.
One of the reasons it turned out to be so sonically diverse is that each member of Queen brought at least one of their own songs for the album.
Oh.
Cool stuff. Like, Creedence tried to do it and they flopped, but Queen tried to do it, and boy, it took them to the next level. And they also did a lot of like growth and development too. Freddie said, I did discipline myself. Take vocals because they're my forte, especially harmonies and those kinds of things. On Queen 2, we've gone berserk, but on this album, talking about A Night at the Opera, he said, I consciously restricted myself. That's brought the songwriting side of it across, and I think these are some of the strongest songs we've ever written. Brian May said it has a couple of the heaviest things we've ever done, and probably some of the lightest as well. It's probably closer to Sheer Heart Attack than the others, in that it does dart around and create lots of different moods, but we worked on it in the same way we worked on Queen 2. A lot of it is very intense and very layered. So that's cool. That intensity and that like other level. They took the title A Night at the Opera from a 1935 Marx Brothers movie, actually. It's a typical comedy, I guess. It was actually the catalyst for a friendship between Queen and Groucho Marx. The glasses, nose, and mustache guy. The same Groucho Marx became friends with Queen. But it was a crunch to get this big, ambitious album done in time. They actually finished it just a week before they were supposed to start touring. So they had to spend 36 hours straight mixing the record to try and get it done in time for tour rehearsals. Then they spent 3.5 days rehearsing, half a day shooting the Bohemian Rhapsody music video, and then they were promptly whisked away to start the UK leg of the tour. So, what a whirlwind. But shocking no one, A Night at the Opera was an instant hit. Melody Maker said it was easily the band's best work to date, and said Queen used studio gadgetry to the fullest effect, but they've also used it to the best advantage. They even went so far as to posit that Queen was the future of British rock, and opinions only got sweeter over time. Today, A Night at the Opera is included on the list of 1,001 albums you must hear before you die, and it's ranked in 10 notable top 100 albums of all time polls. Rolling Stone ranked it number 128 on their 2020 list of the 500 greatest, and it's gone triple platinum in the United States. So it was a major winner for a band that was pretty quickly establishing itself as British hard rock's next big thing. They followed up their hit record, A Night at the Opera, with their hit record, A Day at the Races. It, too, is home to mega hits like Tie Your Mother Down, Somebody to Love, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy. I'm half tempted to do a backtracks on it just to see how you compare the two, because I'm not sure that I would have picked particularly right or wrong. I kind of just picked one. I don't know. We'll have to come back to Queen someday, but I don't know if a backtrack.
Yeah, I don't know if a backtrack. That's too much Queen too soon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need a little break between. This episode's already a mammoth episode, and this album is... I don't want you to compare anything to this album, you know what I mean? I want you to get fresh Queen from some other point in their careers. There's just too much. There's a lot. Because after A Day at the Races, we get albums 6 and 7, News of the World and Jazz, which produced We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, Bicycle Race, Fat Bottom Girls, Don't Stop Me Now, and they closed out the 1970s with the first single from their 8th album, The Game, Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Then we get to Save Me, Play the Game, Another One Bites the Dust, Flash, Under Pressure, Radio Gaga, I Want to Break Free. You can literally sit and name charting Queen hits forever.
Yeah.
Also, I think this is a decent place to say, once I realized that you didn't recognize Queen's Flash Gordon theme in the Public Enemy episode, I was like, well, we got to put Queen on the list. Like, I knew we had to do them ASAP so you could learn. But yeah, that was really them. Flash. Exactly. Also, full transparency, I really wanted to get Thank God It's Christmas in here before Spinter Wonderland in preparation for our big face-off with Wham. I think Queen would be a strong contender, and maybe they couldn't take Wham out on their own, but they're a deserving opponent, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all through the 70s, into the 80s. In the 1980s, Queen became the first band to play stadiums in Latin America. Their promoter in Argentina said Queen have liberated this country, musically speaking, which is...
Oh, I'm about to say, wow.
That's a pretty high praise right there. Musically liberated. Their early career greatest hits record actually also became the best-selling album in UK chart history. To this day, nothing has topped it even now in 2024. It sold over 7 million copies and spent more than 1,000 weeks on the UK album charts. That's 19 years. That's a ton of time. And that's stats from 2022. So it's not improbable that the record could be up to more than 2 entire decades on the UK albums charts at this point. And what's cool about Queen, you know, is they had their ups and their downs and their disagreements about musical directions, but they always managed to pull it together and work it out and keep the hit factory in business, which is really great. In 1985, Queen played for more than 600,000 people over 2 nights at Rock in Rio in Brazil, and then they followed that up 6 months later with their absolutely iconic performance at Live Aid. An estimated 1.9 billion people tuned in for the show. That's like a quarter of the world. 1.9 billion people watched Live Aid.
That's a lot of people.
And of course, it features a lot of other incredible artists, but like nobody captivated the crowd quite like Queen and Freddie Mercury. Pink Floyd's Roger Waters actually said they had everyone completely spellbound. And you've probably heard at least a decent chunk of the Live Aid performance. You ever been to a stadium where they play that bit of Freddie Mercury doing "Ayo, ayo,
Oh.
and everybody sings along with it?
Yeah.
That's Live Aid.
Oh.
1.9 billion people.
Yeah, I'm starting to think we're not going to be able to match that.
Yeah, I think we are probably over our depths at 1.9 billion people.
But hey, 7 people?
7. We got early Queen. We don't have Live Aid Queen yet.
Because we're not Live Aid Spin It yet.
No, imagine.
Give us time.
What if there was a Live Aid for podcasts? That would be insufferable.
Would we bring the Mixtaper?
We'd have to. He's part of the podcast.
I'll be honest. If we were at the point where we were recording an episode live for 1.9 billion people, I think the Mixtaper would show up in the blimp.
Yeah, actually. I know.
He would be there in the blimp.
1.9 billion people.
He would skydive from the blimp and land on the stage.
Okay. I'd like to see him try. Actually, that'd be kind of fun.
Well, gotta get to Live Aid numbers first.
I think if 1.9 billion people watched us record the podcast live, we wouldn't have anybody left to listen to the episode. Like, that episode would just tank because no one would stream it. They'd already heard it.
You're thinking too small.
Well, fair enough. If all those 1.9 billion people tell 3 friends and they don't overlap, I mean, we've covered the world.
That'd be insane.
It would. In 1986, Queen took on their Magic Tour, which would end up actually being their last tour with Freddie at the helm. They sold out 2 nights at Wembley, and they drew 120,000 fans for a third show in a nearby park when they couldn't book the stadium for a third night. They sold out the stadium twice and then went next door and played an even bigger show. They even played behind the Iron Curtain to a massive crowd in Budapest. The Magic Tour truly was magical. But shortly after the tour wrapped up, though, Freddie Mercury was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS.
Shame.
For a long time, he kept the diagnosis pretty secret, just like limited to very close friends and stuff. He persisted with recording through their 13th and 14th albums, The Miracle and Innuendo, but he wasn't really able to perform live like he used to. By 1990, he was struggling to walk, and he could only even be in the studio for an hour or two at a time. Brian May remembered he just kept saying, "Write me more, write me stuff. I just want to sing this and do it, and when I'm gone, you can finish it off." He had no fear, really, which, I mean, what a way to be remembered. Truly a rock star, through and through, Freddie Mercury. In late November 1991, Mercury publicly disclosed that he had AIDS, and he passed away within a day from bronchial pneumonia.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, it shocked the world. Just because, I mean, to them, the timeline was much shorter than it actually was.
To them, the timeline was, I have AIDS. Bye.
Goodbye. Yeah, by the time the news could circulate on like a newspaper or whatever, even television, like game over. So that was hard. I think that's one of the biggest losses in rock and roll. And I mean, just in music, period. I mean, you think about all the iconic artists who have passed away. It's like Freddie Mercury, Michael Jackson, John Lennon. Like, there's a small pantheon of people who are like, dang, you know?
Yeah.
But Freddie's last body of work, titled Made in Heaven, came out 4 years after his death. Actually, it was a posthumous release. The band finished work on the record in Montreux, Switzerland, the same place that Deep Purple made Machine Head and Smoke on the Water. Today, a statue of Freddie Mercury stands on the shore of Lake Geneva. So obviously, I mean, that's a major event, a major change, and it shakes up Queen right to their core. John Deacon retired from music altogether in 1997, but in the meantime, the remaining members started to perform again as Queen plus whoever their guest vocalist was, right? They started touring in that configuration around 2005, and in 2012, they locked down longtime vocalist American Idol finalist Adam Lambert. Brian May said, "I'm sure that Adam would meet with Freddie's approval," which is nice. It's nice that they consider that, even decades on. You know, they want to do justice to the band and the brand and the music. They did put out one last compilation record of archival recordings with Mercury in 2014 called Queen Forever. And the band has done quite a few major world tours since 2016. The next time they head back stateside, I'm definitely going to do my best to try and be there, because I think that'd be pretty sweet. Queen is a band I haven't seen yet, but man, I'd love to.
Be pretty sweet.
And now for the awards and accolades. Well,
now for another 15 minutes. No.
There are many awards and many accolades. It's a lot. But just know that Queen was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. They got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2002. They got into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2003 and the UK Music Hall of Fame in 2004. I mean, boom, 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 year after year. Bohemian Rhapsody is also in the Grammy Hall of Fame, and in 2018, Queen won the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, which is funny because they've been nominated for 4 Grammys, but never won. That's strange. But they've got a ton of Brit Awards, they've got some Juno Awards, they've got a handful of Ivor Novello Awards, and much, much more. They also perform pretty well in periodicals and polls, right? As one of the most iconic rock bands in history, Queen's almost always on the lists.
Usually pretty high on it, too.
Yeah, I would say probably top 10, top 20 in almost every case. But yeah, that's Queen. Also, now we can get back to it. First of all, how familiar are you with Queen? Like, do you know all the Queen songs? Do you know the big Queen hits?
I know a good chunk of Queen songs.
Okay.
I would never be bold enough to claim all of them.
Well, no.
Not even, maybe even 75%. I'm probably somewhere between 50 and 75%.
Okay. What about Night at the Opera then? Because for me, like the big hits, I knew, really, really well. And then there were some deep cut tracks on here, deeper-ish. Shallow in the sense that they're on one of the most popular Queen albums, but deep in the sense that, you know, they're not big radio singles or whatever. Those surprised me.
Well, like, what didn't you know?
I would say picking up A Night at the Opera for the first time, I didn't know Death on Two Legs. I didn't know Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, didn't know 39, didn't know Sweet Lady, didn't know Seaside Rendezvous. I don't think I knew the Prophet song or Good Company.
Really?
I had a pretty sizable chunk that I hadn't heard. Yeah.
So yeah, that's like 7 out of the 12 you didn't know.
I know.
I also didn't know Death on Two Legs or 39, but I think I recognized everything else.
Wow. Okay. I thought that might be the case.
This is one that I knew better, I think, because it has Bohemian Rhapsody on it. So I've probably actually heard this album and just don't remember Death on Two Legs or 39.
I think that's probably pretty accurate, yeah. Also, did you see the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic that came out back in like 2018?
I did not.
Oh, I loved it. It was really great. And actually, it's all about, I mean, in large part, the making of A Night at the Opera and Bohemian Rhapsody. So, you know, as much as it's like a biographical look at Freddie Mercury and the band, a lot of it focuses around them making the song Bohemian Rhapsody.
I meant to go to the theater to watch it, and it just didn't line up. I was super busy around that time.
Well, you sure weren't busy with me, because I did go to the theater and watch it.
Yeah.
But that's a good supplementary piece. If you listen to this episode and go, man, I just want more Queen, and you listen to the album and you go, man, I still want more Queen, go watch Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, and the music video for the song. What a time. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Let's throw it on over to the Mixtaper and we can do some fact or spin.
Indeed.
Spin on two legs.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hello, Mixtaper. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
Feeling like royalty.
As you should. Yeah, you're kind of the queen of the dastards, really. And by that, I mean you're like Queen, the rock band of the dastards.
I don't know if that was a compliment or not.
Well, it was. Queen's great.
We'll find out by your score, I guess, if that was a compliment or not.
I don't know what that has to do with anything. I'm decently familiar with some of Queen, but I also know there's probably a lot of really deep-cut kind of information out there about Queen.
Oh, there is. And I've brought extras just in case, because I was worried about how much you may or may not know.
Okay.
And so if you don't end up knowing any of them, we might have a bonus round or two since Queen is so popular.
Okay.
We haven't had a bonus rounds in a while, but we'll see. I'm not committing to them.
Sure. Well, I'll do my best to throw in the towel as soon as it seems like I know something.
Okay, that'd be great.
I won't steal any points from you if I can help it.
My first fact, their name is Queen. No,
I think I know this one.
All right, here we go.
Smile instead. 9 out of 10 dentists recommended the name Smile, but they changed it to Queen anyway. Because 1 dentist out of 10 recommended a crown.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Roger Taylor was that one dentist.
Brian May had a unique guitar.
Oop, you're talking about the guitar that he built himself.
I sure am. But this is specifically one of the prototypes that's not Red Special.
Really?
This was like a Red Special prototype that did not work out for very long.
Red, not so special.
Well, it was special in its own way. Red extra special.
All right. So I guess I don't know about a prototype guitar.
That's what I wasn't sure, because I knew you're a guitar guy and I figured you know about Red Special.
Who doesn't?
But I didn't know how much you knew about Red Special and like the path to creating it.
No, I did not research Brian May's path.
Well, you see, he built his own guitar and he experimented with all sorts of different kinds of materials for the body and the neck. And
yeah, and the pickups and the tuning pegs. Like, there's a lot you can tweak.
Yep. But he also played around with different materials for the strings other than traditional guitar strings.
Now, I like this. That's interesting. I mean, there are a lot of different varieties of guitar strings out there already.
Mm-hmm.
They could be different thicknesses and materials, and, you know, there's a lot of variation already. But what did he do?
And he played around with plenty of those too, but he and his father, who helped him work on these DIY guitars.
Mm-hmm. Mr. May?
Yeah. One iteration of the guitar that they decide, hey, you know what would make an interesting string? Sewing needles.
Sewing needles?
Yeah.
How did they do that?
Unclear.
Not like thread.
Mm-mm.
You said needles.
Correct.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if you're talking like they just melted down a lot of needles into metal and then like spun them into fiber.
I think they just probably hooked them together.
But that wouldn't make any noise at all. Not in a guitar kind of way.
Sure it would. If you strung them all together, they're kind of just like a really hard string.
I just don't think it would vibrate very well.
I think if you got the tension right, I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't long lasting, but it was an interesting experiment.
Yeah, how did it turn out?
Well, not well. He eventually went back to guitar strings for the final Red Special.
Yeah, as he probably should have. Did he try anything else, or was it just needles?
All sorts of things. I mean, it was needles, different. They played with different things. It's just the standout one was needles.
Sure.
The real Red Special is made out of parts of a fireplace, a motorcycle valve spring, all sorts of stuff, right?
It's very red and it's very special.
I'm also wondering if it was like thinking more along the line of like knitting needles. Like the longer ones.
Like a crochet hook.
Yeah, because like sewing needles are super small.
That's even harder to play with, though. Yeah, but they're narrow. I mean, you need to fit 6 rows.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Strange. I don't like this one, and I don't think I believe it.
Dang.
I mean, I think there's you've got a whole thing for thimbles, you know? And I mean, playing a guitar with sewing needles, it feels like you'd really prick your fingers a lot. And also, I mean, just on top of that, it's possible he could have said in an interview or something that it was like it hurt like needles when you try to play strings on the guitar if he's learning. Like, it takes a while to develop calluses on your fingers, and so I don't know. I just don't think literal needles is even considerable. Like, I don't even know how you arrive at that as a halfway reasonable conclusion for what you want to do on your custom guitar.
So you like an in spin then?
Yeah, I think much like a sewing needle, I'm going to spin this one.
You really spin much? Spin yarn, I guess?
Yeah, there's a spinning wheel. I mean...
it's better than some of the comparisons I try to make, so I'll let it lie. This is a true fact.
I don't think it is. How can that be real?
Yeah, he said that they tried needles briefly, but they didn't last long due to the material's brittleness.
I can't picture this. I can't wrap my head around this.
Yeah, neither could I. If you want to learn more, supposedly, you can read all about it in Brian May's Red Special, which was a book that Brian May wrote where he talks about it.
That seems like a credible source. I
didn't buy the book and read it and find it. It was a summary of the book that I found because I was diving really deep.
Seems like it if you're in his autobiography about his guitar.
So assuming this summary was correct, then this is a true fact.
That's so wild. It's not computing in my brain because I have no way to make sense of this.
It didn't for me, and I tried to look up like pictures to see if anybody tried to recreate it with needles or something. It doesn't compute to me either. But here it does say knitting needles is what he used.
Okay, still.
And it says it used knitting needles before settling on guitar strings, and that they were too brittle and would snap as he was trying to play.
Yeah, because they're solid. Like, they have to be tense and taut.
Yeah.
And they're not flexible.
Well, listen, there's a reason it was a DIY guitar that it didn't work.
It's true. I mean, clearly he figured it out eventually.
Yeah. He said, I need something that's a little more stringy. If only this product existed in many different shapes, sizes, and...
How can I get strings for this guitar? What should I get? Guitar strings? No. Maybe he was trying to be like AC/DC, saw that sewing machine and got an idea, but...
It's like the thing, it's like, I invented a new form of energy creation. And it's like, did you really create a new form of energy creation? Or did you just discover a more efficient way to boil water? And it's like, I discovered a more efficient way to boil water. That was a joke for you engineers in the audience.
That's not me. Not a joke for me, then.
Anyway, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think there was any way I could have believed that.
Up next... Freddie Mercury had a lot of cats.
Now I do believe that. I think that's true. But I think we're about to get into the weeds and figure out how ridiculous this really is. How many cats did Freddie Mercury have?
25. I should have made you play Guess That Cat Amount.
I thought I was going to have to play Guess That Cat Amount.
Oh, man. 25. I was just so excited to say the number. 25 at one time.
20?
He had more than that over his life, but at one single moment in time, there was 25.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of cats.
How big was the space where he lived and kept them? I mean, obviously he's a rock star for a long time in his life.
Well, you see, he treated his cats like family, giving them each their own room in his mansion.
Yeah, okay.
And having caretakers that took care of them while on tour.
I do believe that. I feel like I maybe remember subtle references to that or allusions to it in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie.
Oh, in the biopic? Yeah. I should have watched that in preparation for this because I don't know what was in there and what wasn't.
It was pretty chock full. There was a lot in there. But, I mean, I don't know anything about any of the specifics, whether it's 25 cats or 20 or 6, I feel like it wouldn't take nearly that many cats to make me think of someone, wow, they have a lot of cats.
Yeah.
Did he, obviously treated them like family, knew all their names, and...
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
How often did he get to interact with the cats? Did he have favorites?
Well, he traveled a lot, unfortunately, but he would call home and insist that his cats be put on the phone so that he could speak to them.
Really?
That's what I'm telling you.
That's good of him.
He loved them so much he dedicated an album to them.
Really? What album is that?
His solo album, Mr. Bad Guy. He said, quote, "This album is dedicated to my cat Jerry, also Tom, Oscar, and Tiffany, and all the cat lovers across the universe."
So he thanked 3 out of his 25 cats? I guess he does have favorites.
Well, 4. But yes.
Okay, well, still. I also can't help but notice you mentioned Tom and Jerry again. Like Simon, I'm having flashbacks to Simon and Garfunkel. But I'm not going to let it throw me.
Some of his other cats were named Oscar, Delilah, Goliath, Miko, Romeo, and Oscar. Yes, I said Oscar twice.
He had 2 Oscars?
He had 2 Oscars. 2 Oscars at the same time.
Wow.
Oh, that should have been the name of the fact. That Freddie Mercury had 2 Oscars.
That would have been really good. I would have really confused me. That's for sure.
He also loved them so much that he wrote a song for Delilah in particular on Queen's Innuendo album.
Hey there, Delilah. No, I'm just kidding. That was the plain white tease. I think I believe this. I think Freddie Mercury had a lot of cats. 25 is a lot.
It's a lot of cats.
That'd be pretty easy to lie about and get away with. But also, it's just such a ridiculous... Freddie Mercury, was an over-the-top guy in every sense. I feel like he did life big. And so if you're going to get a cat, you might as well get 25.
If you're going to get one, why not 25?
Why not just go all in?
That was Connor's mentality when he ate all those chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is a true fact? Locking that in?
Yeah, I suppose I'll lock in that this is true. A lot of cats.
I can thankfully report that this is indeed a spin.
He had 26, didn't he?
He had 10.
10! See, I knew...
Which is still a lot. 10 is still a lot, but...
I knew the devil was going to be in the details here.
Yeah. I had a lot more fake... Everything I told you was real except the number. I had other fake details I was going to throw in, depending on what you asked, but you were like, I think I believe this. So I said, I guess I'll shut up before I convince them otherwise.
Yeah, so you only picked from the real cat names.
Oh, yeah, those were all real cat names.
2 Oscars out of 10. The percentage just more than doubled.
Oh, actually, wait, hang on. That was the other lie. I thought it was funny to say that there was 2 cats with the same name. You only had 1 Oscar.
Oh.
But Delilah, Goliath, Miko, Oscar, Romeo, Jerry, Tom, Tiffany, those are all real names.
Yeah.
The fake information I was going to have was things like he would dress them up in costumes and that he hosted a birthday party for each of his cats every year.
Well, that wouldn't even seem that fake after all you said that was real. And he did call the cats every day.
Uh-huh, yeah. Well, not every day, but often.
No, it's frequently.
Yeah. I was going to say that he threw a party for each of his cats every year, complete with cake and cat-sized party hats, which I think is also a really funny idea of having 25 cat birthday parties.
A year? That's like 2 a month.
Yeah. So I was like, those kind of things might, if I keep talking, he might switch to spin.
Every 15 days, we throw another cat party. 2 weeks. See y'all in 2 weeks. Oh, man. That's a lot of cats. 10 is still bad. As someone who is pretty slightly allergic to cats, 1 cat in my life would be more than enough to probably send me over the edge, figuratively speaking. Death on 4 legs. We don't have a lot of cat facts.
We have a couple.
A few, but not nearly as many, I think, as...
There's somebody that's got the 3 cats.
Yeah, Joan Jett had the runaway stray cats.
Joan Jett, yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
But she does have all those cats, she just didn't call them the runaways, which was a missed opportunity. And that was episode 11, so it's been a minute.
I don't know which one of these is a better... I got one that has to be the last one.
A final ramp. A true final ramp.
Let's go with... The band used to hold secret fencing matches.
Like sword fighting, fencing, or like putting up picket fences in the backyard? Just checking.
The former.
Okay. Secret fencing matches? First of all, why secret? Why not fence boldly and proudly?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Oh.
I don't really know what makes them secret.
Interesting.
They just didn't really advertise it, I guess, that they did it.
Didn't tell anybody that they were going fencing. Sure.
Yeah. Well, they didn't really go fencing. It's more the fencing came to them.
Whoa. They ordered fencing in. DoorDash. Sword dash.
Honey, I'm tired. Let's just stay in and order some fencing.
That's right. Well, what happened here? Why'd they start fencing?
It was a good way to blow off steam and relieve pre-show jitters.
By stabbing each other?
Yeah, backstage before shows.
Okay, sure. Why not? So would they get up like in the full garb with the masks and the...
I'd like to think so for safety, but also thinking about the time period and just them as queen, probably not.
Yeah, just grab a sword and go.
I don't know. Brian May might have forced them to or something because he was the one that was most serious about it, even so much as to like learn some basic actual fencing techniques and...
Oh, he got good.
Yeah. So maybe he took it seriously enough to like insist they wear the outfits. Other than that, my guess is they wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think that's maybe fair.
But I could be wrong.
When did they start this and how long did it continue? Was this like a pre-show tradition every time or just once in a while?
I don't know if they did it every time, but they usually would have... they had makeshift fencing gear, so probably no outfits.
Okay, so they didn't even have the real stuff.
It was a private, quirky tradition that they would do their matches backstage, probably like during like mic checks and setups and stuff like that.
That's fun. Was there a clear... I mean, if Brian got really good at it, I would guess he would be the clear winner, but did they keep score? Like, who was leading the charge?
Yeah, I don't know if they kept score, but Brian May definitely was the most into it. Roger Taylor liked it a lot too, apparently.
I see. Secret Queen fencing.
They're a fencing queen.
Yeah, right, just like the song. Stupid. Oh, this is tough. I could see it being true. I could see it being false.
Which way is he going to choose to see it?
It's hard to believe. This is like right on the cusp of something you would just make up and it would fit really perfectly. I think this one is a spin.
Ooh.
It's a hard choice, but that's what my gut is telling me. Maybe one of them liked fencing. Maybe they did it once. I don't know.
Maybe I just read an article about fencing while working on this and wanted to talk about it on the podcast.
That sure could be true too, but I've stopped believing in that.
But unfortunately, this is a true fact.
Is it really?
It really is.
They really fenced before all their shows.
Yeah, well, not all.
Well, no, but I really did think it could be true. It's like, it's right in the sweet spot of maybe, maybe not.
That's good, which means you're in shutout territory as we go into our final round.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's not how I thought this episode would go down. But I was probably overdue. I haven't lost since the Public Enemy episode.
It leads us into our final fact. John Deacon has ghost detecting equipment.
Oh, no. No.
I told you I had one that had to go last.
Of course it's here. Of course it's now. Well,
would you like to give the summary to the audience who may be tuning in for the first time?
Yeah, it's time for the traditional Ryan the Ghost recap. A long, long time ago, back on episode 42 about Gabrielle Applin and English Rain, this fact first showed up. Gabrielle Applin allegedly had ghost detecting equipment that helped her detect a friendly ghost named Ryan. It was a spin, but what you said at the time was Ryan the Ghost will return. It's true about a band that is so famous we have to do them at some point in the future.
Please, an artist.
You did say an artist. That's true. And so the fact has returned since. The Red Hot Chili Peppers had ghost detecting equipment. I mean, it's all been a lie. Bob Dylan had a ghost dog. Ice Nine Kills had ghost detecting equipment. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John detected ghosts in arenas and stadiums. We even talked about Ryan the Ghost in our 90s singles episode. We talked about Jukebox the Ghost, Taylor Swift, Reba, in her red carpet of returning facts, had ghost detecting equipment. The closest it's ever been to true was the last time, Led Zeppelin. And we talked about a haunted lake house on Loch Ness that was a cult house that he actually owned, Jimmy Page.
And one true detail about this fact that has been a thread throughout all of them is the existence of Ryan.
Ryan.
The name of the ghost.
Ryan has to be named. Yeah, that's true. There was one episode where you forgot to call him Ryan, and I forgot that was an important part of the spin.
Yeah.
So Ryan the Ghost is back. 10 episodes. We've done 10 Ryan the Ghosts, and this is surely another band big enough that we would have to get to them eventually. And I really have been, just since the beginning, saving Queen for a big episode. That's why I went for 175. You know, those quarter centennials.
I'll be honest.
Please do.
When I first created this fact, I didn't think it would take this long to get to the true one, assuming this is the true one. I really thought it would like show up within the calendar year.
And instead, it's been going on since April of 2022.
Yeah.
We've been searching for Ryan the Ghost. It's been 2.5 years.
It's been 2.5 year hunt, and maybe we finally found him.
I don't know. We're going to need some more details about that.
We'll find out.
Tell me more about John Deacon's Ryan.
Well, how much you know about John Deacon in general?
Not a ton.
Well, you know that Deacon was kind of the electrician of the group. He tinkered around with sound equipment and amplifiers and even made a famous, what I think is pronounced Deacon amp.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So you have that going for him. And another fun thing he liked to tinker around with was the idea of building a device to detect paranormal activity.
Building it.
Uh-huh.
He didn't not only owned ghost detecting equipment, he built ghost detecting equipment.
Correct.
Wow. What kind of ghost detecting equipment? Like an EMF? Like a...
Yeah, something that played with like frequencies to detect ghosts.
Wow.
Kind of cobbled it together.
Sure.
Using some stuff.
Some stuff. Very specific.
I don't know what stuff. If I say real stuff, you're just going to be like, oh.
It can't be true. That's right. So he has real stuff, turns it into an EMF reader, gets it to work?
Supposedly.
Well, yeah, how does he detect a ghost? Like, how and where? And how does he know it's named Ryan? Or is that just what they come to call it?
Well, yeah, first off, he detects a ghost, as one does with ghost detecting equipment.
Not always.
Well, as one tries to do with ghost detecting equipment.
That is always true.
And, he detects a ghost and proceeds to try to learn as much as he can about said ghost, including its name. And so he starts just listing out names. Says, hey, let me know when I found your name. And when he says Ryan, the device goes off.
Oh, specifically. So he asks it, gets a targeted response at Ryan.
So, Ryan the ghost.
Well, what's the follow-up to this? Do they talk to Ryan more? Does he ask more questions? Does this, happen on one night and then never again?
Yeah. I mean, it was more of a hobby thing. He wasn't like a serious ghost hunter or anything. And it was just, I think, more of just a fun little goofy project to play with. And
sure.
So I don't think he really thought much of it. I don't think he truly was like, I found a spirit and it is haunting me.
I am a believer.
I think he just built this thing, and it was funny that he was getting responses out of it, and it was a fun way to pass the time.
Okay.
That's the way it seems.
Oh, this is interesting.
But Ryan the Ghost, nonetheless.
And now I have to play the head games of, is this something you would have known about Queen and John Deacon back on episode 42? Maybe. Obviously we talked about how much you know Queen and their singles and stuff, and you could know some Queen facts.
Have we talked about how much I know about it? I know Connor knows a lot.
Oh, touche. You're right, it hasn't come up for you specifically. I just assume your knowledge and Connor's knowledge is roughly exactly equal.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a curious case because sometimes when Ryan shows up, he is over the top.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about some of these bands that spent hundreds or thousands of dollars on ghost detecting equipment, or it's just so extra. This fact is not extra. In fact, it's very reserved. And he built his own ghost detecting equipment, which is a way cooler fact that you could have found earlier. But no one else has built ghost detecting equipment. And it makes me wonder, if the original fact was he built ghost detecting equipment, would you have translated building it into the original lie? Would you have said Gabrielle Applin built ghost detecting equipment, or just had?
I'm choosing to remain silent during this thought process.
Well, that's reasonable. That's fine. I think it's likely that the built part would have been too enticing.
I don't know what that means.
What that means
I'm remaining silent.
I just don't think you could have resisted including that she built the ghost detecting equipment the first time.
Well, to be fair, every single time it's come up, it's been different.
Well, that's true, but no one else has built it. This is the first time they've made their own ghost detecting equipment.
That is true.
And John Deacon is an electrical guy. Seems like an easy avenue for you to try and come up with a fun new variant on the fact.
I see. So he's going with spin then.
Oh, but it so could be true. I mean, so close.
Here's the real game you have to play. It's a high risk, high reward sort of situation. You're risking basically right now, if you're leaning towards spin, you have to take the risk of missing
the true resolution
after 2.5 years.
And getting shut out for it.
Uh-huh. But if you're right, that's a high payoff as well. You prevent the shutout and don't get fooled by Ryan yet again. High risk, high reward.
I don't know. Would I have found this? I've had people that listen to the podcast and know the story of Ryan the Ghost tell me, I'm shocked that you don't know the Ryan the Ghost story. And I was always like, why? How can that be? That you're so shocked that I don't know it? And Queen is a band that really meets that threshold.
Unfortunately, we've come to that time where you must lock in an answer.
I think this is still a spin.
Still a spin.
I'm so tempted to say it's true.
He's risking it. He's taking the risk. He's going for the high reward.
I'm so tempted to say it's true, but I think it's still a spin because I think the built aspect is a key piece of unraveling this one.
Wow.
I think someone else in the last 10 iterations would have built ghost detecting equipment if this was the version of it that's true.
So go ahead, lock that in for me.
I think the Ryan the Ghost saga is still ongoing. I'm going to lock in that this one's a spin.
All right, he's locked it in, folks. And I can tell you with a little dismay, but also a lot of satisfaction that this is a true fact.
Oh no!
Minus Ryan the Ghost.
Really? Wait.
This is a spin.
Oh my gosh, I'm relieved. I thought we had him. Wow.
This is a true fact. John Deacon invented ghost detecting equipment, but he didn't find any ghosts. I added Ryan into it to make it a spin.
This was the perfect storm. I mean, they're getting harder and harder. Like, every time it comes up, it is a way more difficult decision. Because he is so techie and electrical. And, yeah, and he did build the thing. Wow.
He built ghost detecting equipment. Yep.
He genuinely tried. And just like Led Zeppelin genuinely lived in a cult house. I mean, each of these is getting truer and truer.
Yep. We're getting closer to the real Ryan.
So he never found a ghost. Ryan the Ghost will still return.
Ryan the Ghost will return.
And it's still about an artist big enough that we have to do them someday. And you thought we'd do them within a calendar year. Wow.
That might have just been me being optimistic and not even really considering how many artists there are.
How many artists there are? There's like 750 on my ranking list alone.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was a good final ramp.
That was stressful. I think I lost a few years off my life.
Would you like a bonus round? Do we have time for a bonus round?
I don't know. It's going to be a long episode. We've got time for a quick bonus round.
Yeah, we'll do a quick bonus round just for funsies.
I think it's always fun. Why not? It's episode 175.
I actually have 2 bonus rounds, depending on how fast the first bonus round goes.
Oh, baby steps.
Yeah, you didn't know any of the original 4.
I didn't. Well done.
All right, so up first...
Do these count?
No, these do not count. These are just bonus.
Okay.
They're just fun. No pressure. Freddie Mercury once outran a bull wearing roller skates.
Now, part of me wants to believe right away that this is absolutely a spin, because obviously. But also, think about this. Bulls are used to having hooves. So if you put roller skates on one, it's probably going to have a hard time getting going.
Okay.
And it'd be pretty easy to outrun.
Yeah, I also, after saying that, I realized the ambiguity there. Freddie Mercury was wearing the roller skates.
Oh, yeah, okay, of course.
Outran the bull.
That also makes way more sense. And I knew it was that way. I just wanted to play up like it was the other way, because that'd be ridiculous. So how does he get himself into this situation? Is he meant to be outrunning a bull? Or does the bull...
No.
Okay, it just ends up in the roller rink somewhere it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, well, no, it was supposed to be there. It just wasn't supposed to be loose.
Okay, was this like a bullfight, Pamplona? Like
It was a parade that Freddie was leading in Spain.
Interesting. Is he a good roller skater? Like, what's his roller skating experience?
I assume so, if he was leading a parade while wearing them.
That's true. If there's a parade, there's a lot of people there, right? So what happens to everyone else that's not on roller skates?
They also are fleeing for safety as this bull rampages around.
Sure. How far does he have to go to get away to safety?
He just roller skates over to like a little, like, I don't know, this thing calls it a balcony, but that doesn't seem right. Those are like high up, like, I don't know, some sort of ledge that he climbs up on.
A ledge, a balcony, yeah. I've never been to Spain. I don't know what it looks like.
But yeah, he climbs up onto the balcony and then starts singing "We Are the Champions."
What? That's a little extra.
He's an extra guy.
Mr. 10 Cats. Yeah, that's 90 lives he has to care for, by the way. Anyway.
A lot of lives.
It is. A lot of lives are in his hands.
Dude, I can't even take care of myself in my one life. Imagine having 90 others.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think this is true for some reason. Seems interesting. Seems kind of fun. Kind of quirky.
It is kind of fun.
Running with the bulls is a whole thing over there, whether it's on purpose or not.
It's fun. It's quirky. It's false. This is a spin.
Bummer.
He did outrun a bull, just not on roller skates. And he wasn't leading a parade. He was just vacationing in Spain when it got loose.
He just straight up outran a bull on foot for fun.
He was having a close encounter with a bull that escaped the village he was staying in. He was wearing platform shoes at the time. So that's kind of, I was like, let's just change that to
roller skates.
And then he also didn't sing "We Are the Champions." I just had that because...
No, that was a bit of a stretch too. I just felt it.
The other fun one I had is that Brian May almost quit the band to become a zookeeper.
A lot of animal facts buried in the bonuses. Well, I mean, Zookeeper's interesting because he's an astronomer. You know, he's a big star guy.
Yeah.
Why animals? I guess he's just a big science guy.
Yeah, he's a big science guy. But he also has a lifelong passion for animals and wildlife conservation. So in the early days of the band, maybe before they were even named Queen, not really sure, he considered hanging up his musical career and going and being a zookeeper. So much so he was actually offered a job as one and then declined it.
Wow. Well, I'm glad he didn't go be a zookeeper. I'm sure he would have loved it, but also I'm glad we got all this cool music.
Mm-hmm.
This is tough. I think I'm going to say this one is a spin. I'm sure he's passionate about animals and conservation.
But what if I add that one of the animals that he helped save was named Ryan? No.
Right, yeah. I don't know.
This is also a spin.
There we go. It's nice to know I would have had that one.
Yeah, but he did nearly become a zookeeper in the sense that, like, zookeeping is a passion of his and he considered it, but then was kind of like, nah, I'd rather be a musician.
Yeah.
That's where my bigger passion is.
Probably was really a big fan of the porcupines with how much he likes needles. I don't know.
Actually, badgers.
Oh, those are like porcupines without needles.
He particularly had a lot of influence on the campaign against badger culling in the UK.
What? Brian, well, that would have been a fact on its own that I wouldn't have believed.
Yeah, I know. And you got to remember that, like, the English badgers are, like, the cute ones.
That's right. Yeah, the American badgers are mean.
Yeah. He's also co-authored a book on animal welfare and astronomy. Don't know if they're the same book or if that's
I don't think there's a way to relate the two, to be honest.
I don't know if that's poor grammar or...
Well, I mean, I guess you could talk about Laika and some of the space animals, but that feels like a stretch. I feel like they're separate books.
So yeah, he has big passion for animal conservation and wildlife and considered being a zookeeper.
Oh, that's fun. I wanted to be a zookeeper, but all I got was this lousy rock band. This lousy world famous greatest hits of all time rock band. Well, Mixtaper, this was a pretty fun week. It was a tough week, actually. I struggled a lot with these facts.
Yeah. Most of those facts came from books the band has written. I did a lot of spark noting of their biographies to go deep diving for facts. In fact, 1, 2, 3, almost all of these were from books or documentaries. So that's probably why it was so hard.
Yeah, they're deep cut facts.
I knew I had to go deep. I mean, everybody knows the surface level stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, when you Google weird facts about Queen, you get stuff like Brian May's got a PhD in astrophysics.
Right.
Like, who doesn't know that?
Everyone knows that now because they listened to this episode.
Freddie Mercury designed the Queen logo.
Oh, we're about to talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, you've done well.
They do have a fun Guinness World Record that I don't remember if we talked about in the first half.
I don't think I mentioned any. What do you have?
Queen has the record for the longest running fan club for a rock band.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, the fan club has been active since 1973 and is still going strong.
Love it.
So there, you got a bonus to the bonus right there.
Double bonus.
Now off to research for next week's round. Factor spin. Back to the library.
That's right. You know, every week that passes, I'm a little more afraid I'm going to just spoil Ryan the Ghost for myself somehow. I don't know how or when.
I have also had that concern, but it would be really funny if it happened. You have to tell me if it happened, like on an episode.
Yeah.
I feel like you should tell me.
I should. But I mean, at this point, it's been 2.5 years and radio silence. I'm just as confused now as I was on day one. So
I really thought you weren't going to risk it. I really thought you wouldn't take the risk of missing out on the true fact and would say fact.
No, built is really what did you in.
Crazy.
Even though that was true.
And it may still be true about the real one. I mean, you don't know me. You don't know what I have and haven't included.
That's a great point.
In some iterations, Ryan's a dog. You never know.
Only one. But yeah, it's true.
But until next time, and maybe the return of Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah!
If Ryan returns next time, I'm going to lose it. Like in episode 176? No way. Anyway, welcome back, Connor.
Calling it now. No way Ryan is in 176.
I think I'll call that shot. Anyway, welcome back. Let's talk about this album art. The Mixtaper just alluded to it a little bit. The album art is pretty much just the Queen logo on a white background.
Yeah.
But the Queen logo itself is kind of fascinating. You know, Freddie Mercury went to school for graphic design, and he is the one that designed this graphic, looking like a little donut, except the ribbon in the middle makes a little Q.
Look at that, using his degree.
That's right. It's a very intricate logo. Maybe a little busy, actually, but cool either way, because there's a lot of symbolism here. It represents the zodiac signs of each member of Queen, right? 2 lions for the Leos, Deacon, and Taylor, a crab for Cancer, dancer Brian May, and a pair of fairies for Freddie's Virgo. And then there's a big phoenix on top for no reason except that it's awesome. It's also meant to be a parody of and kind of resemble the UK coat of arms. I will say, I don't think he's very good at drawing lions.
For a coat of arms, there's not very many arms.
There's 4 arms on it. That's it. You know, it's an interesting cover, and they pretty much just copy and pasted this cover onto a black background for their next album, A Day at the Races.
A Night at the Opera, A Day at the Races.
That's what they did. And both albums are really good. Again, I really considered backtracking the other, but I thought we should spread it out. I think it's a great looking logo for an album about opera. I mean, it seems sophisticated. You know what I mean? It's fun and it's visually enticing. But without further ado, let's get into it. We got 13 really cool songs to talk about. And it all kicks off with Death on 2 Legs. Death on 2 Legs, parentheses, dedicated to, ...
My cats.
Dedicated to my cats? Certainly not. He likes the cats. This is not someone he likes.
Oh, that's true.
It's a Freddie Mercury diss track about their former manager, Norm Sheffield, who they felt cheated them out of money and was kind of not a good manager to them. When Norm heard the song himself, he actually tried to sue the band and the studio for defamation, but because they never actually mentioned it by name in the song, he didn't really have too much of a case, and they settled out of court.
Yeah.
It's kind of a vicious song.
How specific are you allowed to get before they would have a case?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I assume their case is this song could be about anybody. We didn't call you out by name. You know, there's nothing here saying specifically you were this awful person.
Death on 2 Legs.
Yeah. But, like, how specific before it becomes like, okay, even though you didn't say his name, this is about you.
Yeah. And there's a case to be made that since he sued them for defamation and stuff, like, he acknowledged that it was about him.
Which would then mean it wasn't defamation, right? Because it has to be untrue.
Right. Yeah. Narrow-minded cronies who are fools. You never had a heart of your own. Killjoy, bad guy, big talking small fry. An old barrow boy.
Although that's victim blaming, what you just did right there. Maybe he heard it and went, hey, I think they're talking about me and this isn't true. My feelings are hurt. I'm going to sue them. All that it confirms by suing them is that he believes they believe he's this bad.
That's true.
Not that he believes
that he's this bad. That's true.
Yeah.
You're a sewer rat decaying in a cesspool of pride. Should be made unemployed.
Yeah.
It's kind of a vicious song.
Imagine if he was around during the diss era
of like hip-hop music.
Yeah.
Clearly he could hold his own.
He'd be the king among queens.
Yes, true. The king of queens, like Kevin James.
Maybe then the queen of kings.
Ooh, I like it. It's a wild one. When they would play the song live, Freddie Mercury would dedicate it to a real MFer of a gentleman, which is just a funny phrase. But he also came out and said, I don't like to explain what I was thinking when I wrote a song. I think that's awful. When I'm dead, I want to be remembered as a musician of some worth and substance. So it's clear what he was thinking when he wrote this song, because he says it in the lyrics. But he doesn't go around like talking bad about this manager. You know, he just put it all into song. And what a way to start the album. I mean, there's a lot of vitriol here, and it does feel very operatic.
Yeah.
Right? This is almost like characterized. Big emotions, over-the-top theatrics.
I had that in my notes that this was a good opener to a song titled A Night at the Opera.
Yeah, it's true. Death on 2 Legs. I also just love the way that they've structured that melody. Death on 2 legs. Like, it feels like it's creeping up on you. Tearing you apart. Like, it's so good. And we'll probably talk about it 800 times. But, man, they've got some good harmonies. Tight harmonies. That's one of the biggest signatures of Queen, is their vocal skill. And it is on full display early. Also, fun fact, Freddie wrote the song mostly on a piano. And so when he had to make guitar parts for Brian May, he would play him on the piano. And Brian would learn them that way. That's kind of cool.
Huh.
And as strong of a start to the album as it is, it might be in my bottom quarter of this album. Really?
Dang.
I know. Well, I think that's a testament to how good the other stuff is. Death on 2 Legs, it's different because I think it's memorable mostly lyrically for me. Whereas so many of these other songs are more memorable musically.
Sure. Like the piano on Lazing on a Sunday afternoon.
Lazing on a Sunday afternoon. Exactly. Now, I don't know. Death on 2 Legs, if you're a big Queen singles listener, you probably had heard that one before, right?
Oh, yeah. I've heard Death on 2 Legs and Lazing on a Sunday afternoon.
Really? It's so short, I just didn't know if you'd cross paths with it.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know Lazing on a Sunday afternoon the first time I picked up this album.
My first note was we've left the opera and now are listening to like the 1930s radio.
Yes.
It's got like that sound to it.
It's so wild. It is another Freddie Mercury song. Look at the vast diversity in songs that he's writing just between these first 2 tracks. He wrote, sang, and played the piano on the recording. And he said, I love doing the vaudeville side of things. It's a sort of test. I love writing things like that, and I'm sure I'm going to do more like that. It's a challenge. So he's going for vaudeville. He's going for show tunes.
My second note was that this song has big Killer Queen vibes to it.
It does kind of call back to Killer Queen. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Killer Queen was from Sheer Heart Attack. It came out just before this.
Had the plunky vibes and some of the vocal like rises and falls, just very reminiscent.
It's true.
Which may be part of why I think this one's in my bottom quarter.
Lazing on a Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, and I think it's just because I couldn't shake the Killer Queen.
It's like Killer Queen if it was happy.
Yeah, but yet somehow less upbeat sounding.
Yeah,
like Killer Queen is the less happy song, but sounds more like amped up.
Yeah, it definitely amped up.
And then this one sounds more lazy,
as it should. I just don't like that it's so short because I really just everything about it, the sound, the vibe, the style, it's great. And it's cool. They recorded the vocal first, and then to get that megaphone, like tinny, lo-fi, hollow sound on his voice, they played that recording of the vocal back through headphones in a bucket.
Yeah. I mean, it's got some really cool production and like history behind the song. It just, as a song, made it into my bottom quarter.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Something has to go there.
Yeah.
I guess this has to be on the shorter list. Also, fun fact, they started doing all that 24-track recording and stuff. Well, they filled all the tracks so much. When they did the guitar solo, they had to track it on the same track as the vocals since they ran out of tracks and had to start doubling up.
Jeez.
I know. I'm not so sure I'd put it on the vocal track. Maybe I would because there's no vocals during the solo.
Yeah, that's probably why they did it.
Yeah, but also, I mean, isn't it scary if something goes wrong with the vocal track? Back to the drawing board on that.
Yeah.
But still, what a remarkable little ditty. I like it a lot. And, I mean, as much as of a pun intended gear shift as it is from Death on Two Legs to Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, we shift gears straight away again with a very smooth transition into I'm in Love with My Car. This is the first song on the album not by Freddie Mercury. It was written and sung by Roger Taylor. When he brought it to the band, they thought it was a joke at first. But nope, he was very much serious. But the lyrics aren't about him and his car. They're inspired by one of the band's roadies. Roger said, I remember my car at the time because we've got the exhaust on the record. And that was a little Alfa Romeo. And that's true. The engine sounds that open I'm in Love with My Car are Roger Taylor's actual car. He said, but I think it was more about people in general. For instance, boy racers. In particular, we had a sound guy roadie at the time called Jonathan Harris, who was in love with his car, and that inspired that. I think he had a Triumph TR4.
Pretty triumphant.
Pretty TR4. And I think this is a wild song. I understand why the band didn't think he was serious when he walked in with this. Just to read the lyrics, they're really something else.
It's something.
And that's the first exposure I had to the song was I just had like a book of Queen sheet music for like a piano or a guitar when I was younger. And I hadn't heard I'm in Love with My Car, but all the lyrics were in there. And I was like, what is this song? When I'm holding your wheel, all I hear is your gear. When I'm cruising in overdrive, don't have to listen. I don't know. Got a feel for my automobile. I was like, this is a really strange song. With my hand on your grease gun, it's like a diseased sun. Like, wow. Okay. It does kind of feel just like an attempt to fit as many car terms as we can into one track.
Yeah, but I think it's a pretty successful attempt.
It is. This is like a motorized version of Bicycle Race.
Yeah.
We just keep comparing Queen songs to other Queen songs, but still, the machine of a dream. I really like the sound of I'm in Love with My Car. The production on it, it's really big and resonant and fun. It's just a fun song. They kind of cut loose with it.
Yeah.
I'm in Love with My Car was actually the B-side to Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, what a single.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Up next is the song that I will be using as my intro song at your wedding.
At my wedding? Wow, thank you.
You see, but because it's your wedding, but it's my intro song, it's like you telling me that I'm your best friend.
Even though you pick it out? I see.
Yeah.
You're My Best Friend is up next. What another hard pivot. I like how back and forth this album kind of ends up being. Jumps around a lot. You're My Best Friend is another non-Freddie Mercury song. It's by John Deacon. And it is his second Queen song ever, and the first of his to be released as a single.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. What a second hit. What a way to come back, you know? Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's an impressive song. It's one of my favorite Queen songs, probably, period. It's just so much fun.
It's only 200,000 play less. It's like 130,000 plays away from cracking their Spotify top 10.
Yeah, it's impressive. And actually, I mean, it was the second single on the record behind Bohemian Rhapsody, so that's impressive. It went to number 7 in the UK, and in the US it's been certified platinum as of 2016. But what's even more impressive is that he still was learning how to play the piano when he wrote this. Like, this is the result of him still learning. He actually even played a Wurlitzer on the record before he dubbed the bass over it. So that's really cool. It's about his wife, Veronica. Obviously, she's his best friend, and she's making him live. It's just such a sweet love song.
Which is exactly why it's going to be my song at your wedding.
I see.
Listen, both of our someday eventual brides are going to have to understand that we're a package deal and that someday we will live as next door neighbors with a pool crossing into both of our yards.
That is an idea that you've not presented to me prior to this very second.
I call dibs on the diving board portion.
Well, it's good to know that you're thinking about these things. Why can't they both be diving board portions?
Well, you got to have a shallower end.
That's the middle.
Oh, fair enough.
Anyway, what are we talking about? Or the front. You know, we could do 2 diving boards in the back, and then the fronts could be shallow. Anyway.
Oh, wide pool.
It's going to have to be wide if it spans 2 yards.
Well, that it's long. But anyways.
I really love this song. It's just so sweet. Whenever this world is cruel to me, I've got you to help me forgive. It's so happy. It's so sunshiny. It's just, I don't even have words for how much I like You're My Best Friend.
It's a really good song.
It is indeed.
You know what was one song I didn't know?
Really? What's that?
Oh, wait, hang on. There's one more. Hold that thought.
Oh, okay.
You want to know a song I knew?
I see. Yeah, I was going to guess that the song you didn't know was 39, but now I'm going to guess Sweet Lady. But we'll get to that. And I suppose you knew 39.
I did.
Wow. Now, this is another song that Freddie Mercury did not write. Brian May wrote 39, and he gets to sing lead. And boy, did he really go all out on the nerd stuff.
So did we go 3 songs in a row without Freddie, like one of each?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, now, Freddie did sing on You're My Best Friend, but he didn't write it.
Right.
But on this one, Brian wrote it, Brian gets to sing the lead. And it is truly Brian May through and through, because it's a fantastical pirate shanty travel ballad where a couple leaves on a space voyage and then comes back home to find out 100 years have passed. Very much in the wheelhouse of a PhD astronomer who's interested in time and space and Earth aging.
And apparently sword fighting.
And sword fighting, true. Yeah, like swashbuckling. He was a fencer, so I've been told. Brian May himself says, and it's a long quote, buckle up, it's a science fiction story. It's the story about someone who goes away and leaves his family, and because of the time dilation effect, when you go away, the people on Earth have aged a lot more than he has when he comes home. He's aged a year, and they've aged 100 years or so.
Like Interstellar.
Yeah. He says, he's aged a year, and they've aged 100 years or so. Instead of coming back to his wife, he comes back to his daughter, and he can see his wife in his daughter. A strange story. I think also I had in mind a story of Hermann Hesse, which I think is called The River. A man leaves his hometown and has lots of travels, and then comes back and observes his hometown from the other side of the river. He sees it in a different light, having been away and experienced all those different things. He sees it in a very illuminating way, because I felt a little bit like that about my hometown at the time as well, having been away and seeing this vastly different world of rock music. Totally different from the way I was brought up, and I had those feelings about home. So usually the song, I think people generally won't admit it, but I think when most people write songs, there are more than one level to them. They'll be about one thing on the surface, but underneath, they're probably, even unconsciously, trying to say something about their own life, their own experience. I know in my own stuff, there is something like that. So there you have it. Space pirates, time dilation, returning to a world that was once familiar and finding it completely new territory. I love that. And it's wrapped up in this really awesome melody. It sounds like a folk song. It's got a fun chorus, a lot of cool harmonies. It's another song that feels very cinematic, storytelling-wise, like perfect for a night at the opera, really.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. Feels like it could be its own opera.
I mean, it kind of is, yeah, space-time opera. Freddie Mercury said, people can't believe that it's us. It's something Brian May wanted to do, and it's very unlike Queen, really. He said, I think it's going to be the B-side for You're My Best Friend. Do you think it's un-Queen-like? Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
No.
Because I'm not so sure it's un-Queen-like.
I think it's perfectly queenly.
I think so, too. It might evolve Queen from what they used to be to where they're going. But I think retrospectively, this song is certainly Queen-like. Regal, in fact. Also, fun fact about 39, George Michael covered this song as part of a Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 1992. I guess nobody told him that Freddie Mercury did not write or sing it. But fun stuff. So you knew 39.
I sure did.
That's cool. Did you know Sweet Lady?
Sure didn't.
Sure did not. I knew it. Somehow, just had a hunch.
Somehow you could tell.
I could. So what'd you think then as a brand new Queen song to you And I mean, honestly, the longest song on the album to this point, that's kind of wild.
I know, right? I liked it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's another Brian May song, vastly different than 39. It's mostly in 3/4 time, but it does switch up to 4/4 for a little while in there. And it's all about a quarrel in a relationship. You get 2 verses from the woman, the last verse is from the man, and it's kind of, Sweet Lady is like an ironic title because they're, having at it. Brian May said, lyrically, a lot of my stuff is about relationships and what I saw in my own relationships and the relationships of people around me, which I still really feel is the fundamental building material of our lives. He said, I'm intrigued by what happens one-to-one between people. I think some of those are the strongest forces in our lives. And so that is what the song is about. Personal relationships. It's got some great guitar parts in here. And it's got some of my favorite lines, too. Just weird ones. You call me up and feed me all the lies. That one's fine. You call me sweet like I'm some kind of cheese waiting on the shelf. You eat me up, you hold me down. Like, cheese? That's what we've got for the second verse? Okay.
Hey, cheese is pretty great.
Cheese is great. Just, I don't know. It feels like a weird metaphor to employ here. But when you're a band that can pull off a line like, a tiger defying the laws of gravity, I guess you can get away with a lot. I like the time signature changes. The moments where it jumps from 3/4 to 4/4 really kind of jolts you a little bit. I think it's cool. Very technically impressive.
I do think it was a little long in the middle.
I kind of agree.
I liked the beginning and the end, but the middle was a bit...
There's a lot of Sweet Lady in there. The chorus is just sweet lady, stay sweet. And it comes up quite a few times.
Sure does.
It's a heavy song, both emotionally and sonically. But you know what? One of the jauntiest songs you'll ever hear in your life is up next. Seaside Rendezvous. Wow.
The Seaside's a jaunty place.
It is. And this is also one of the most technically impressive songs to me, especially on those instrumental breakdowns. You know, the instrumental break that's like at 50 seconds?
Yeah.
It is no instrumental break at all.
Really?
Roger and Freddie did all kinds of sounds with their own voices and production effects.
Really?
So they imitate tubas and trumpets and kazoos and all those solos that you hear. That's them with their like mouths just going like, it's amazing. And you can't even tell.
That's really cool.
It's so cool. And it always blows me away to listen to this song. Because, like, you can hear that there's something off about it. You're like, that's almost like a kazoo. That's interesting. Or, like, that sounds like a trumpet. But it doesn't quite. And it's not. It's just so cool. And then when they get to the tap dance section later on in the song, they emulated the sound of tap shoes by putting thimbles on their fingers and then tapping on the sound mixing board.
Interesting.
It is so innovative. It's such a fun little ditty. Not to mention, it's infinitely catchy. If you start playing Seaside Rendezvous for me, it's going to be stuck in my head for a week. It is another one of my favorites on this album because it was one that I discovered by virtue of just listening to this album. I didn't know it before, and I came out loving it. And the more I learn about it, the more I love it.
It's really cool. I'll be honest, that detail might move it up a little bit on my favorites list.
That's what I'm saying. It's just so goofy, and I think that's really fun. And then we get from a song that's like goofy and doesn't take itself seriously at all, and we flip the record over to side 2 and get the song maybe that takes itself the most seriously out of any of them. The Prophet song. It is the longest song on the album by a lot. It's 8 and almost a half minutes, and it's a doozy.
Yeah.
Did you know the Prophet song beforehand?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
The only one on here I didn't know actually was...
Oh, it's just Sweet Lady. Huh. Well, I also wasn't familiar with the Prophet song when I first went to this album, and it always impresses me, but I'm always, I don't know, kind of over it quickly, which I don't like, because it's long. There's a lot to it, and it's easy to get lost in it, but it's daunting. It's cool, though. Brian May wrote this one, too. He was inspired by a dream about the biblical flood that wiped out everybody on the earth. And the song kind of functions both as a critique about mankind's general bad nature and then how mean people can be as well. Brian May likes to speak in long quotes. And so I found another long quote about this one, much like 39. He said, I had a dream about what seemed like revenge on people, and I couldn't really work out in the dream what it was that people had done wrong. It was something like a flood. Things had gone much too far, and as a kind of reparation, the whole thing had to start again. Again, that's very similar to the biblical flood. He said in the dream, people were walking on the streets trying to touch each other's hands, desperate to try and make some sign that they were caring about other people. I felt that the trouble must be that people don't make enough contact with each other. A feeling that runs through a lot of the songs I write is that if there's direction to mankind, it ought to be coming together. And at the moment, it doesn't seem to be happening very well. I worry about it a lot. I worry about not doing anything about it. Things seem to be getting worse. But I wasn't trying to preach in the song at all. I was just trying to put across the questions which are in my mind, rather than the answers, which I don't believe I have. The only answer I can see is to be aware of things like that and sort of try and put yourself to rights. There's an overseer in the song whose cry to the multitudes is, listen to the warning of the seer. He said, I don't really know whether he was a prophet or an imposter, but he's standing up there and saying, look, you've got to mend your ways. I still don't know whether he's the man who thinks he's sent from God or whether he isn't. The song asks questions rather than gives answers. And I think maybe that's why, to me, it's so daunting. Doesn't really give any answers. It's a prophecy song, which is really kind of fun. But yeah.
Hey, now I know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what about that section in the middle? Let's talk about that. They got that looper pedal going. Man, that tape delay, they just leaned heavy on that. And I think that's one of the most impressive parts of the album, really.
That's a word for it.
You don't like it? You don't think it's impressive that he could just pick up a tape delay and sing that?
I think it's impressive, I guess, that you can do it.
It is a little bit long.
Is it fun to listen to?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. At least once in a while. I wouldn't go put this song on repeat or anything. But if I'm occasionally making my way through this album...
So you're saying this isn't your playlist pick?
The Prophet song will not be my playlist pick. That's correct. But actually it is. It ended up being the longest song that Queen ever recorded. So there's that. But it is a doozy. Freddie Mercury called it one of the nicest songs on the album. So I think there's some merit to it as a work of art. But boy, it's a doozy. And as complicated as it is, it's really cool that we contrast that with the next song, Love of My Life. One of the simplest songs on the album. And finally, we're back to a Freddie Mercury written song, a ballad through and through about his longtime partner, Mary Austin.
Big fan of Love of My Life.
Me too. Freddie played all the piano and did all the vocals on this track himself as well, at least for the recording, because what happened when Queen would play this live is that audiences would love this song so much, they pretty much just sang the whole thing for him.
Yeah.
And he just didn't sing, he just let the audience take it, and Queen even keeps that tradition up to this day sometimes, just lets the audience take Love of My Life and sing it back to them, which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Yeah. As cute of a song as You're My Best Friend is, Love of My Life is equally like a sweet, sweet love song. Obviously, you can tell from the title alone. Also, fun fact, Brian May is the one that played the harp on this, but he didn't know how to play the harp. So they recorded it one chord at a time, and then they smushed all the takes together. So when you hear him go bum, 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 that's 4 different times that he sat and played a different chord.
That's insane.
It's really great.
That's funny.
Yeah. Also, Love of My Life was certified gold in 2020.
Took that long?
Yes, it did.
That's kind of insane.
I know. It's kind of a wild number. It's just such a beautiful ballad. I would be surprised if this one wasn't one of your favorites, because ballads.
Oh, it's just such a good song.
Yeah, it is.
So beautifully sang. The melody's just like perfect. Big fan of Love of My Life. Kind of want to pick it for the playlist, but that feels predictable of me.
It is a little predictable. You're right. It's very top 3 core for you.
Yeah, this is one we're gonna have to do by committee, I feel like.
Almost certainly.
If not, one of us is stuck taking Bohemian Rhapsody.
Maybe. Up next is Good Company. Brian May wrote, sang, and played ukulele on Good Company. What another jaunty, peppy little song. Also, fun fact, he wrote it on a rare hybrid instrument, a banjo ukulele. I've never seen a banjo ukulele, but how cool is that?
It sounds pretty cool.
It's for rednecks from the islands, I guess. I don't know. Also, another fun fact, Good Company is one of the very, very few Queen songs without Freddie Mercury on it at all, either vocally or instrumentally.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty wild.
I figured he was there somewhere.
He's not. Nowhere to be found. He, ironically, is not in Good Company. But also the song is kind of striking an ironic tone, because it's about someone who makes a lot of friends and builds this really good life for themselves, but then gets sucked into relentless pursuit of their career and becomes his own good company as he seals himself off from the world and isolates and gets lonely. So it kind of is another song with a bit of an Odyssey-style twist as it tells its story. Kind of like Sweet Lady, stay sweet, but we're fighting and you call me sweet like I'm cheese. Good Company is, wow, I'm my own best company, but like in a negative way. Like you lose all your friends. Good Company, it doesn't have enough bite for me, I think.
Really? I like the weird amount of anticipation it has. It keeps you on the edge of your seat with that thumping dun 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 dun. Like keeps you like the train, like keeping it moving. Like
yeah,
keeping the tempo pumping, right?
It does.
But yet it's soft and like plunky, right? Usually when it's soft and plunky, you don't get that sense of urgency.
That's true.
And then like the softer vocals coming in with the da da da, it fits the vibe, but yet makes you kind of lean in and go, okay, yeah, what's the next lyric?
True. There's a lot of good tension and release to Good Company. I'll give you that.
That was a way better way to sum up the vomit I just spewed out.
That's why I'm here. But it's just, Good Company feels like it's kind of going for the vaudeville style of Seaside Rendezvous or Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon, but also with the storytelling capacity of Sweet Lady. And I don't think it really lives up to the heights in either of those categories that previous songs had already hit. You know what I mean? It feels like middle ground for both of those, not tropes, but situations, I guess.
And I think it's really good that it's centered right before the biggest song on the album. Really, again, get you
primed, get you ready, right?
Get you primed, yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody is up next. Boy, it's got 2.6 billion Spotify streams. I have to ask, do you think Bohemian Rhapsody dethrones George Gershwin? Because this might be the most popular modern rap. R-H-A-P.
So I had it here to make a joke about we got another artist that needs a rap award.
Oh, you want to give a second rap award instead of just best rap?
I was trying to come up with a way to give them their own. I like having as many rap awards as possible. I'm trying to come up with another way to give them a rap award without just replacing Gershwin's.
I don't think you'll find it. I think you'll have to choose between this and Rhapsody in Blue for the best rap.
Well, then Rhapsody in Blue keeps it for me.
Fair enough. But this is a huge rap. I mean, this was number 1 on the UK singles chart for 9 weeks, even though it's just a behemoth of a song. 9 weeks for this? I mean, I get it now, but like, who would have thunk at the time? Today, Bohemian Rhapsody is the 3rd best-selling UK single of all time, bar none. It went to number 9 in the US, it topped the charts in 5 other countries, and it sold more than 6 million copies worldwide and 10 million in the US, which means it's gone diamond, and it's been in films like Wayne's World, you know, a lot more. It made it into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2004. Bohemian Rhapsody was the most streamed song from the entire 20th century, as recently as 2018. So, I mean, wow, what a juggernaut. Do you remember the first time you heard Bohemian Rhapsody?
Gosh, no. Forever ago.
It's been forever. I think I really remember the first time I actually, maybe not heard it, but sat down and listened to it. And it was in high school. It was that lyric analysis project, because somebody brought this and tried to analyze the lyrics.
What? That was the first time you heard it?
Yes. Yeah, it was probably, would have been 9th grade.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Queen is another one that I have a CD of sitting here somewhere in my room. In fact, let me look for it.
Well, I had a Queen CD too, and I knew Queen for a long time, but I had a version of the greatest hits or a volume of it or whatever that didn't have Bohemian Rhapsody on it. I don't think.
Found it right away. Which one did you have?
Once I knew the song, I was just as shocked as you are right now that I hadn't heard it.
Yeah, that's insane.
But that also was a long time ago. I have known Bohemian Rhapsody for a very long time.
Oh, I have 2 Queen ones. I have one Queen's Greatest Hits that doesn't have Bohemian Rhapsody on it, but then I have a Queen album that does, or album CD that does. I have 2 Queens, and I didn't even realize it.
Wow, look at you go. I had some songs from iTunes downloaded from just called Queen Greatest Hits, but then I also had, it had We Will Rock You, We're the Champions, Another One Bites the Dust, Killer Queen, Somebody to Love, Fat Bottom Girls, Bicycle Race, You're My Best Friend, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, Now I'm Here, Play the Game, 7 Seasons of Ride, Body Language, Save Me, Don't Stop Me Now, Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, I Want to Break Free.
Huh.
So that's what I had. Anyway, Freddie Mercury wrote the bulk of Bohemian Rhapsody, and he did it section by section. You know, these big several minute long blocks that they found a way to weave together into a cohesive finished product. He actually, I guess, wrote a lot of it on a phone book, and it pretty much started without a title or any direction whatsoever. It was just a bunch of stuff cobbled together. Its working title was just Fred's Thing, because they had no idea what to even make of it, what to even call it. They didn't even call it a song. They just said, you want to play Fred's Thing for a while? Want to work on Fred's Thing? That's pretty wild. It's such an interesting song. It refers to a ton of characters, both historical, religious, and fictional. Clowns, Galileo, the Barber of Seville, the Devil, the Speaker, his mama, tons of others. There's really no narrative thread either. It's pretty open to interpretation. I think in high school, the guy that tried to interpret the lyrics said it was about someone's journey to the electric chair, which I've heard. I've heard that's a pretty standard interpretation, but it's pretty wide open.
Yeah.
There's the intro, right? Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? There's the ballad part, Mama Just Killed a Man. There's a guitar solo, ba-da-doo-doo-doo. Then we get into this opera section. Truly, the night at the opera happens right here on track 11. It originally just started out as a quick little Galileo or two, but they were having so much fun with it. They kept adding on and doing another thing and doing another thing, and it just expanded. It expanded beyond the point of comprehension. Apparently, They ended up with something like 180 tracks worth of vocal overdubs at some points. 180 tracks of vocals.
That's crazy.
I know. Their goal was, as they said, a wall of sound that starts down and goes all the way up. They spent 3 whole weeks in the studio just on the opera section. And then, of course, we finish it with a more straightforward rock part. So you think you could stone me and spit in my eye. Awesome lyric. That's got all the lyrical bite of something from Death on Two Legs. Love it. And then it gets soft again. Any way the wind blows. It's truly one of the most interesting songs, I feel like, out there. That's a little basic. I guess it gets overplayed and overhyped, and everyone knows Bohemian Rhapsody, and it feels like it's not special to call the song special, but
It's pretty special.
think about what was around at the time in 1975. It's something. They don't make them like this, and they didn't make them like this prior to this. It's just unique and really good. Emblematic of, I think, a lot of what Queen would be over the course of their career. Up next, and up last, is a short little instrumental track, actually. It is the British national anthem, God Save the Queen. Well, now the British national anthem is God Save the King, but for a long, long time, and probably again, it will be God Save the Queen someday. Also fun because it's in their name, right? Queen, God Save the Queen.
Yep.
Little pun. Brian May is the one who kind of arranged this particular version of it. Mercury said, "That's something we've had in our stage act for a long while, and when we were recording A Night at the Opera, I felt it just lent itself. The whole thing is done by Brian. It's all Brian's guitar, every bit of it, with cymbals and things." So there you go. I mean, that's layers and layers of Red Special. I love it so much. He's got such a good, rich tone to his guitar. It's unmistakably Brian May anytime you hear him play, and I love that. Also, in 2002, at Queen Elizabeth's Golden Jubilee, Brian May went onto the roof of Buckingham Palace, and he played the song live. He said he wanted to pay homage to Hendrix's similarly rocky and maybe even more iconic Star Spangled Banner. That was kind of what he took a lot of his inspiration from when he did this. So, interesting way to close out the album, I think. It kind of does give it an air of, like, officialness. You know what I mean? We don't just end on Bohemian Rhapsody. This kind of closes things down with a nice little bow.
I think I agree. I think it, especially for an album titled A Night at the Opera, it fits.
Yeah, it feels like the end of the show. The curtain call, and everybody's standing up to leave the theater.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, let's get into Final Spin. It has been a long episode to this point, so let's fire away. I'm going to just give my scores. I've talked a lot about all the stuff on this album, all the cool production tricks and, musical styles that blend together, the way it bounces back and forth from one thing to another, but also still ends up being pretty operatic in nature. I like it. 92 for music for me. So many of these songs are so memorable. I mean, they've all got millions and millions of streams. And even more plays than that over the course of their lifetimes. Just impressive. 89 for lyrics. A lot of really compelling storytelling here, even though they're kind of bubbles, right? Each song has its own little storytelling bubble. I don't think anything ever really gets too old. They do a good job at covering a lot of ground with their stories. Instruments and production, 91. Just so many cool little production tricks. This album literally changed the way people were recording music. Like, they were pioneers for 24-track and stuff. So 91 there. 93 for the overall vibe. I mean, it's an album people called the future of British heavy metal, or hard rock at least, and so respect. 93 for the vibe. Overall score is a 92.2, which lands it at number 49, making it, first of all, top 50. But it's below The Stranger by Billy Joel and below Nevermind by Nirvana, both 2 episodes we covered early on in the podcast. And it puts it above Florence and the Machine, How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful, and Adele's 21. It's right in that wheelhouse of those records, for me anyway. Now for you, I'm curious to hear what kind of a 9 you're going to give it.
Nah.
Oh, then I'm curious to hear what you're going to give it, I guess. Shame on me for assuming.
Okay, it's getting a 9.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I guess it could have been a 10, but I don't think this feels like your first 10.
It's a good run. Takes a good stab at it.
Yeah, just like any fencing band should.
Yeah, this one's getting 9 sewing needles out of 10.
Sewing needles? They were knitting needles on the guitar.
Well, sewing needles, knitting needles. Knitting needles then.
I mean, guitar strings, though. That's the wild part to me. When they stick your fingers, I just don't understand. I can't fathom.
So do you think you're playing them from the pointy end?
Well, no, but if you're stringing them together, the pointy end is going to be there, and if you slide your fingers up and down a string,
Oh.
I don't think they're sticking out of the guitar. I just think you're moving your fingers horizontally along the neck.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Brian May, if you're listening, what are you doing? Tell us.
I mean, he's building it out of fireplaces and car parts, so.
Which is pretty cool, I'll admit. Pretty cool way to build a guitar. But
I mean, imagine if it had worked, and then you were like, wow, look at this cool guitar made out of.
The first ever sewing needle guitar, you're right. That would have been,
Yeah.
And I guess you don't know if you don't try, but I knew and I didn't try, so take that with a grain of salt.
And we're breaking into the top 10 for me.
Oh, wow.
This one's going right above, and I hate to do it to her, but it's going right above Dua Lipa.
Are you replacing the Queen with Queen?
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost breaks top 5, but slotting in number 7 of all my all-time rankings.
She's held on to that spot for, I don't think that diminishes Dua Lipa in the slightest. She's held that for quite a while.
I mean, look at what has beat her out. Since she's slotted in at number 2, she's dropped like 5 places, and it was Elton John, Phil Collins, Barry Manilow, Journey, and now Queen.
Only 2 albums that I've brought have beat Dua Lipa so far. The rest have been your own picks.
3 now.
3 now, yeah, with Queen included in mine.
Yeah, this is the 3rd one. Yeah.
It doesn't happen often. That's a rare day.
Doesn't happen often.
But it's not surprising.
Replacing the Queen with Queen.
A queen for a queen makes the whole world queen.
Number 6 in the 9s, but number 7 overall because...
And number 1 in our hearts.
Number 7 overall because of my 10. But yes, number 1 in our hearts.
Wonderful.
My top 3.
Hit me.
Gonna start off with the honorable mention to Death on Two Legs.
Oh, you're tearing me apart.
Then getting into the normal top 3 with You're My Best Friend.
Thanks, you too.
And then we're hitting a surprise bonus honorable mention.
Oh.
And it was a surprise even to me because I've added it in based on the information you've given me. Seaside Rendezvous.
Seaside Rendezvous. Wow. Love it. Yeah, isn't it cool? Mouth kazoos.
Yeah, Mouth Kazoos. That would be another good unit. But then rounding out the top 3 with Love of My Life and Bohemian Rhapsody.
No surprises there from you, I think. That's exactly what I would have guessed your top 3 would be. But you did take an extra one, so there's that.
Yeah.
But still, very solid.
But now for the nasty business of playlist picks.
Well, if Bohemian Rhapsody is a must-have...
Are we putting Bohemian Rhapsody on? I feel like it is. I feel like it's a must-have.
It is. It's a must-have.
So then what do we put next to it?
It sounds like we're both pretty fond of You're My Best Friend.
I was thinking that. It's a little more peppy, whereas Love of My Life is a ballad similar to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
So I was thinking You're My Best Friend.
I was thinking you are too. Is that joke still funny?
Was it ever?
No. No, but it's as funny as it ever was. Sweet. Well, I think that about does it for this 175th episode of the Record Ranking Podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. If you want more episodes for people who would rather be listening to music like yourself, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us what you liked, what you hated, tell us if you knew about the sewing needle thing. And you can also find us on social media, at SpinItPodOfficial on Instagram and at SpinItPod on X.
Hey, you listening right now.
Me?
You listening right now, go tell a friend that you would have secret fencing matches with
Love that.
about the podcast.
Yeah. And then go have a secret fencing match with them.
Better yet, have a secret fencing match while listening to this podcast together.
Wow. Give it a go. See what they think. We'll see you next week for another episode. And until then, you know what to do.
Keep spinning! I've changed my mind.
Changed your mind. You're giving it a 3?
Oh, gosh. No, about my wedding intro song. I've decided I don't want to use You're My Best Friend anymore. Too confusing
Okay.
on which way it's supposed to go. I don't want everybody to think that I'm just saying that you're my best friend. It's already about you. This is my moment to be about me.
I see.
And so I've decided it's going to be our podcast intro song.
I like it. You know what? It's a classic. Instant classic.
Just coming into the reception, busting open the door.
Love it.